If you have been visiting our website looking for my Sunday morning Easter sermon from April 20th, you know it hasn't been there. It hasn't been listed. There was a bit of a recording snafu, we could say, probably inadvertently orchestrated by me. The first almost 7 minutes of this sermon was unacceptable to our YouTube provider because it contained portions of our Sunday morning background worship music. And of course, because of copyright laws, that's a big no-no. Now, to explain to you how that mistake was actually made, for instance, how did it end up on the recording when it was not heard live in the auditorium on that Sunday? It's not worth the trouble it would take, the time it would take for me to even try to explain it. I'll just say I goofed. So here I am now, over 2 weeks later, in an empty auditorium with just a camera person here and me in order to present the first 6 or 7 minutes of that sermon, after which the recorded live event from April 20th will then take over on your screens. Please accept our apologies. It's late Friday night, following the afternoon crucifixion of Jesus. Let's take a look at what I'm going to call Friday evening portraits. These are players in that period of time between the death of Jesus and his burial. There was Judas Iscariot. He dangles at the end of a rope. Conscience has come home, taken its vengeance. And as Judas slips that noose around his neck, he thinks to himself, betrayal complete. Blood money gone. That's right, it wasn't even in his pocket anymore. He had slung those silver coins across the temple floor where they landed at the feet of those that had hired Judas. They were so callous, they just picked it up, put it together, and used it to make a real estate investment. They bought a field, and they turned that field into a cemetery for the unknown, indigents, if you will, foreigners, strangers. They called it Potter's Field. It was a field of blood. His last thoughts. I never meant it to go this far, but it did. And now, it's an eye for an eye, a life for a life. Jesus is dead. Now I must die. And he let his full weight drop. Perhaps his last thought was, it's over. The deed is done. It is finished. Pilate, the appointed Roman governor, he stands on his balcony late in the afternoon, gazing at the 3 crosses that are in the distance, while he washes his hands one more time. And he thinks, oh, come on, it's just another crucifixion. No. No, it wasn't. Who was that man? My dear wife. She can't even join me this afternoon out here on the veranda. She's back in bed with a migraine. Says she hasn't slept at all in the last 48 hours. The nightmares wouldn't leave her. Doesn't matter who he was, just another one of those overzealous religious Jews. Dead now. Good riddance. Finally, as he dries his hands, finally, it is finished. The notorious prisoner Barabbas. What a stroke of luck. That sucker Pilate, he caved to those Jews, and he lets me, the true criminal, go. Me, for that patsy from Nazareth. I'm free. I'm loosed from my dungeon. I thought I'd never get out of that place. And now, it's finished. The Roman centurion, chief officer at the crucifixions. Why do I feel like I've just done something very, very wrong? I've never felt like this before at one of these events. Of course, I'm not sure that I've ever overseen an execution where I was so sure that the accused did not deserve his sentence. It was so brutal. He was just tossed into the political machinery, chewed up and spit out. Disgusting. Sometimes I hate this job. Oh well. What do I care? We're all just following orders, right? Another day, another dollar. Hey, I even pocketed a little extra on that robe that I won when I rolled the dice. I'll turn in my hours and be done for the week. Thank the gods it's Friday. Put a fork in it. It's done. It's finished. How about Mary, the mother of Jesus? Friday night, oh, the ache, the pain. That's exactly what that old prophet Simeon, who's long gone now, that's what he told me that day as he held my little newborn in his arms. That day when we were in the temple. And what was it he said? Mary, a sword will pierce your soul. Oh, I wish Joseph were here with me now. At least it's over. Finished. Peter, of course, an apostle. But how about thinking of it this way? Perhaps the closest friend of Jesus, certainly one of them. How could it all end like this? 3 years of all those miraculous works and wonderful camaraderie. We were so sure he was the Messiah. How could it end like this and so quickly? I thought he said that his kingdom would last forever. his mind ticks back through that Friday. Guards, trials, my stupid denials, his execution, and me, the rock that turned to jello. What a disaster. I'm done. Guess I'll just go back to fishing. Started with a bang, but ended with a whimper. Finished. Oh, I've got to end on this portrait as we're looking at portraits. Satan. Jesus' arch enemy. Old Slewfoot himself leaned back in hell and motioned to his demon Conrad, "Pass the Jack Daniels, Wormwood. A toast to the deceased Son of God, the Messiah." the Jews on ice, and all is nice. Let's party. Bottoms up. It's over, finally. At the end of all these centuries, it is finished. But was it? Was it really over? Was it really done, kaput, for the Son of God? We're here this morning because we know the truth, I think. That's why we're here. And here's the truth in just two statements. First, the plan was finished. The plan, God's plan of the ages to offer the ultimate payment for our sin, finally culminated in Jesus' sacrificial death. And the God of creation announced that in the Garden of Eden. And after all of those multiple centuries, he completed it on a hill called Calvary. No other plan would ever be required. One plan for all people for all time. That's why the words of Jesus at the close of the crucifixion scene, you know, there are a number of quotes or sayings from Jesus on the cross. But this is the last one, right after they had shoved that sponge up with the vinegar. When he had received the drink, Jesus said, let's say it together, "It is finished." With that, he bowed his head and gave up the spirit. It is, in the original Greek, tetelestai, which means done. Literally, paid in full. Mission accomplished. You see, the bridge that God had been building to us, we don't build the bridge to him. The bridge was built by God, and it was complete and finally reached all the way to the worst of sinners when Jesus bowed his head and died. I have to quote you a wonderful 2 or 3 sentences here from a man by the name of Wayne Brewer. Speaking of God, specifically I think of Jesus, he drained the energy right out of evil. He laid himself like a copper wire across the poles of hell's battery. And he absorbed in himself all of the hatred, all of the bitterness, all of the rage, all of the lust, all of the violence into the soothing quiet of his love. Greater love has no man than this, that he laid down his life for his friends. The plan, that's what was finished. The plan was finished. But how do we know that Jesus has the authority to decree such a sweeping, all-inclusive verdict? It is finished, meaning for all time, everywhere. It is finished. All that is behind me, all people that live before me, all sin paid for. How did Jesus have the authority to make that kind of a statement? Well, just 3 more words. Just takes 3 more words to figure that out. And by the way, these words are found in all of the Gospels. So I'm just going to take the one in Mark, here in Mark, because we're working our way through the book of Mark. And in the 16th chapter, the angel says, "Don't be alarmed," he said. "You are looking for Jesus the Nazarene, who was crucified." Here's the 3 words. He has risen. Let's say that. He has risen. The plan was finished because the person was not. The person, Jesus, was not finished. Jesus took it full on. The wages of sin. What does the Bible say the wages of sin are? Yeah, Jerry was talking about that in his little pre-communion words. Jesus took death in the teeth. And you have to understand, always before, death was undefeated. The undefeated champion. Through hundreds and thousands of years, 1 out of 1 goes to meet death and loses, dies on the mat. But Jesus goes to that mat, and the one who knew no sin, was absolutely perfectly innocent, allows sin to take his physical life. And sin thinks, well, I just won again. But then, 3 days later, of his own accord, he takes back his life. Nobody helped him. Never to die again. Now that's what we celebrate so joyfully today. That's what we're celebrating. What's finished? The plan of God. Sometimes we call it the plan of salvation. It was finished. But Jesus wasn't finished. He lives today to make intercession for us. Listen to these words written by a famous songwriter. There's a line that is drawn through the ages. And on that line stands an old rugged cross. On that cross, a battle is raging for the gain of man's soul or his loss. On one side march the forces of evil, all the demons and all the devils of hell. on the other, the angels of glory, and they meet on Golgotha's hill. The earth shakes with the force of the conflict. The sun refuses to shine, for there hangs God's Son in the balance. And then, through the darkness, he cries, "It is finished." The battle is over. It is finished. There'll be no more wars. It is finished. The end of the conflict. It is finished. And Jesus is Lord. Let's stand together. It's simple. It's very simple. If you have made Jesus Lord of your life in the way that is described in the Scriptures, in the Word of God, if you have come believing in Him, trusting in Him, confessing not just your sin, that's part of it, confessing Him as Lord and Savior, repenting of sin and being immersed into Christ, if you've done that, battle's over. You're a winner. No matter how many skirmishes you and I still have with Satan, he's done. We've read the back of the book and we win. So that's a rejoicing for you today. If you have not done that, you're feeling like you're on shaky ground. You're saying, wait a minute, I don't think I ever made that commitment in my life. Whether it was as a youth, in your early days as an adult, or much later, you say, I haven't done that. You need to. Then for you, this is decision time. You need to make a decision for Christ. And you're welcome to even just say, I'm walking up that aisle to that preacher and I'm saying, I'm ready. I'm ready to make a commitment to Jesus Christ. So that invitation is to you, but it is for all of us today to say, whew, it is finished and Jesus is Lord. Let's sing that together, okay? And it will be an invitation song for all.